By the way, I forgot to tell you all that I am Joanne, the middle daughter of David and Carol. Anyway, we loved conversations with everyone he met. About a year ago, I mentioned that he must be good at small talk. His quick reply was, "Oh yeah, I have a PhD in small talk." He loved his walks. I didn't know until recently, seeing the interview G made with Dad, how walking was a good stress reliever for him. I love my walks too, and Dad was right. And now I have a couple of quick stories to share with you. My friends at school would talk about being grounded when they got into trouble. You know, can't go anywhere except school, church, and violin lessons. Well, at our house, it wasn't called being grounded. It was the embargo. Right. Or under the embargo, Dad would say. I'm sure I had to ask him what the word meant, although I knew what the punishment meant. Fortunately for us kids, the embargoes were usually lifted well before their formal periods had expired. Recently, I've been working on emptying Dad's house. I had St. Vinny's come with a truck and take away some furniture. I showed one of the guys this sewing machine cabinet that was in another room. It looks like a desk when it's not in use. The guy was interested and he asked me to open it out. So it has a lot of layers to it, and I started unfolding them, and no sewing machine. I was dumbfounded. I wanted to ask him about it, but he's not talking. So, does anybody here have a sewing machine? Keep it. Oh. Well, that's wonderful. It's yours now for keeps. So that's it for me. I yield the floor, but I reserve the right to come back if you have anything else to say.
Thank you, Joanne. I'm her husband, Gene. And as I got to know Joanne, I discovered that she was not only cute, funny, smart, and fastidious, but that, as a good friend of ours said, Joanne has a heart of gold. And all that's true, and it wasn't until I met her folks, which I learned was spelled P-H-O-L-K-Z, that I came to realize how apt the old saying that the fruit doesn't fall far from the tree. Not too long after I met Joanne, Griff came up to Seattle, where we were living at the time, and we took him out to dinner at the China Harbor restaurant on South Lake Union in Seattle. I'm sure many of you know that Griff really liked Chinese food, and if the truth was told, he loved any kind of food, basically. Especially where meat was involved. And he really liked to have meat. Later on, Joanne told me that he said I was a real trencherman. I had no idea what that meant, but apparently it's like you're eating with a shovel. And as a kid, I had a good appetite, and that was high praise for me. Joanne and I made our first trip together to 1060 Jackson in Eugene soon after that, but Joanne had to prepare me for what I was going to find when I got down here. I had never seen anything like it, honestly. A wood stove, no central heating, no TV, no car, lots of no's, but one thing they did have was always lots of music in the house. And it was an amazing place. It was either Carol playing the piano or Quacks on the radio, or the stereo playing CDs, or a baseball game. They were, I don't know that I ever met anyone who would score a baseball game and listen to at home on the radio. And there was evidence, because when we were going through her the records at the house, we came across old score sheets from baseball games that were done from the radio. Griffith Carroll were the only, and of course the other thing there always was talk. And it was talk about anything and everything, especially about food. Breakfast talk was always about what was going to be for lunch. And lunch talk was always what was going to be for dinner. Talk about past feasts and fondly remembered food failures as well. Unlike most places in my experiences, discussions of politics and religions were encouraged. Joanne and I were the first, were at Peatmore Hospice House, where Griff ended up on this past February 14th. We were there when he arrived, and once he had settled in there, he started talking. And he talked for about an hour. Unfortunately, because of the strokes, his stroke, it was all unintelligible. I couldn't tell what he was saying, but I wish I had had my camera there so I could record it and try to decipher what he was saying after the fact. But whatever it was he was saying, he really wanted to get it out because he just went for like an hour and just kept talking. So later on, once he stopped, I asked him if he was comfortable, and I also told him not to give the nurses a hard time. And he, although he couldn't speak, he let me know that he understood and my questions. And then we left that day, that afternoon, about 5 o'clock, thinking we'd see him the next day. We showed up in the morning, and he was gone. He had passed about an hour before we got there. I was very lucky to have that amazing man as my father. About 2 years ago, coming up on July 7th, I did an interview with him, and I've been passing out little cards that have the YouTube address where you can access the interview online if you want to see it. So there's more of them there. I got some in my pocket here with his little portrait on it. So if you want to take a look at that, it's got subtitles on it or captions on it, so it's easier. So if he starts mumbling, you can actually read what it is. And if you don't like that, my email address is on the card too. You can tell me I've got a version of it that doesn't have the titles on it, so I can get you that link to you as well. So, who's next? No victims? Oh, okay, Teresa. You have to stand right here.
I'll use one of these do the best I can. Well, I know Dave through Jennifer and grew up he was good friends with my stepfather, and I lived in the Bay Area, and I used to come up on the train when I was a little girl and visit their family and just be immersed in all the music and celebration, and anyhow, I love it. So I will give you my impressions. There once was a man from Eugene who could walk like a dancing machine. He would strut around town with eyes peeled to the ground while he conjured up songs in his deed. Then he'd strum his guitar, singing like that rock star that he soon would become in his dreams. He delivered the mail, and he never would fail, no matter the obstacle scene. Played a mean game of cards, and could cook, by and large, anything that he wanted, it seems. Here's to Dave. Rest in peace. He was always so sweet to me. Most of you. Oh, such fond memories.
I have known him more than most of the people in this room. I grew up in Eugene, and my name is Cynthia. And as a grown-up, I moved to the neighborhood, the same neighborhood. And my memory doesn't work, which with our wonderful gentleman. And we were talking one day, and it happened to be after my dog ate his toe. Not that he ate it, but tried. And we got to talking about what he'd done, and how long he'd done it. And I said, well, I grew up in Eugene. And he said, what street? And I said, 31st. What address? 940. The Percival family. He remembered who we were. Anyway, he was a wonderful man, and I miss him. But thank you for this opportunity.
Good evening. I'm his oldest daughter, Joyce Terrell. This is my husband right here, Pastor Terrell. And what I want to say is, Dad taught me about baseball, and there was this game that we played at the Monroe Park called 500, and you take a bat and bat the ball, and you had to bat it pretty far. You get higher points, and the points would be 500. All of a sudden, that just came to mind. And maybe it's because of your neighbor, and it just came. Monroe Park came to mind. But anyway, I have just a few other things to say. Musically, he taught me how to play the guitar. Actually, it was a mandolin, and then the guitar song. I should be playing my classical guitar because he gave me the books. He said, I taught myself. I have a Lucida at home that I don't like having to tune all 6 strings. And there's one, the top string is only tuned to an E flat, and it's supposed to be an E, and I don't know what to do about it. And I should be playing that guitar. And I played the violin yesterday. I should have brought it. But that's all I have to say. I miss him so much.
Okay, who's next?
My name is Monty Scheimer, and I've known David Carroll since 1966. So I may be close to you. But anyway, we met them through mutual friends, Gene and Vic McNulty, who were also participants in our Friday night get-togethers. And we all just showed up, and David Carroll had a keg on tap. Never charged us anything, but there was a tip can. And this was back when you could get a keg of beer for $15. And if we could afford it, we'd put in $1, because this was back when we were all poor, we had kids, and we didn't have any place to go that we could afford. But anyway, we met, and we met them, and we had a wonderful time. My kids went over there in car cribs, if anybody remembers car cribs. But anyway, we would bring them in our car and put them in a corner by the keg so we could keep tabs. And we just had marvelous times. And we met so many different people. We, on April 15th, one year, we had a party after, tax day. And we met some of these kids from the University of Oregon band. And there was Bert Barr and Tom Jacobus, that I remember their names. And they eventually started coming over, and we had jam sessions, and I drove my guitar along with me and played quietly. Because I didn't have any music to look at. I was just guessing at what they were going to play next. And nobody ever told me to shut up or sit down or stop playing. And we had a great time. We had the Lemon Sisters, which was Mary Little John and Jean McNulty, Carol and I, and she would just play songs, and we would all stand up there and we would all sing. The Lemon Sisters is a reference to the Lennon Sisters, who were popular at the time, a very popular group. And we just, like I say, it was a group, very diverse group, PhDs, mailmen, Unical salespeople, just sales ladies that worked at the Bon Marché. It was just a huge group of people that would never have gotten together otherwise. And I kept in touch with Dave after my husband died, and I would see him a couple of times a year. Get him down, bring him some candy, and he'd eat their clothes. Chow boy, I would give him my mom's chow relish recipe. And last time I saw him at least 3 years before I traded my car. But I talked to him in August. And that was we're talking last time I talked, we're talking about sound. About how and where it's and it was over. He said his birthday was on October 5th. Hey, and which I did. I said, I was happy to not hear my dog. I would have, it was never one. I told him, but anyway, so I said, this character, and I'm the silver is beast got me. So it's killing again.
My name is Mark. Yeah, I'm working, and Dave, of course, from the days we're talking about now. And I don't know quite how it all happened. I kind of, it's sort of like osmosis. I can't remember a definite time. It seemed like Dave and Carol had been, part of my life. All our kids were running around, and they were part of my life too. But this one evening in particular, there was now Dave had an old refrigerator that actually I gave to him. I got rid of this damn old refrigerator. I didn't know what he was going to do, and he said I could do something with that. And it ended up in his living room, and he put a keg in there. And that refrigerator, I think, stayed there probably for 20 or 30 years before it cracked out. So that was sort of the situation, and we would play, on Friday nights, and we thought we were pretty good until, and then Dave got the idea that, well, let's record this. Let's see what we really sound like. And so we did. We recorded this stuff, and Dave's favorite song then was Masculine Women and Feminine Men. Which is the rooster? Which is the hen? It's time to tell them apart today. I remember those things when I was. So anyway, we did these, and the kazoos were big. Everybody had a kazoo orchestra as well. And so all this stuff was recorded. Everybody convinced this was a good something. You remember this. Everybody. And the next morning, this one woke up a little late. And off, we listened to the recordings and they're all just whenever. But then that night in particular, we were warming up this one, and I think you were Gene for this. Gene McNulty had this great idea. There are a bunch of guys, friends that showed up from the university that were, out of the art department, art history department, which I was studying at that time. What was her name? And your good friend.
Jean?
And besides Jane, this was a graduate student.
Is that Morris?
I was thinking about Morris and Rowski, but those are, you're asking a lot of people out of that group went on to great fame back in New York and did all kinds of terrible things. But that night, Gene McNulty said, let's go out to my place out in South Eugene. They just bought this great place and I got a great swimming pool. And we can all go out there and we can, this was about 1 o'clock in the morning by this time. Everybody said, let's go out there. So everybody loaded up in cars. We drove out to South Eugene and we got out there. Next thing you know, everybody was taking their clothes off and going skating. And there was this young art history major that I conveniently forgot her name. She was on the diving board doing these poses from, ancient Greek sculpture. She looked pretty good. What was going on? And pretty soon the cops arrived. And they, they had, but part of it. You were talking but I was putting out a whole house out here. So, but that was, what's going on. One back. And Gene McNulty was great. And she didn't want to lending her swimming pool. And we had a wonderful time. And I think her husband was up in Portland. He spent a lot of time up there, but that's another story. Okay.
What about Griff?
My name is Karina, and I'm a neighbor. The most wonderful thing is being in this room full of people who loved this man and appreciated him and respected him and how unique he was. And I'm like elated that everyone's here. I'm an honored member of what we call the Griff Brigade, and we were a whole group of neighbors who we all did different things for him, and it all kind of meshed into this incredibly well-oiled machine so that he was able to stay in his house and didn't have to move. And Jennifer said that he called us the Girls Club? Towards the end, he called us the Girls Club because we were pretty much all women. Anyway, I'm a proud member of the Griff Brigade. I was at Griff soon after I moved to Eugene. I moved here to go back to school, and I was busing back and forth to U of O, and I would walk this looking older men, and I saw him walking everywhere. 13. There he is. He's down on some cocaine, and I go, there he is. He's everywhere. For road. One time, he's in he's everywhere. So he I'm on Monroe Pool, and I was my neighbor walking. And I hold my license for and I turned and who said you? I said, hi, everywhere. He smiled and we introduced each other, found out we were both and that was like, I met him, and that was the beginning of what to me was a very precious house, friendship. He was so, over the years I just felt totally fascinated as I got to know about this elder who was in my midst, who was endlessly interesting, curious, philosophical with a cynical bent, anti-capitalist to the hilt, funny as hell, an incredible wordsmith, and more well-read than most people I know. I just wrote down some titles. This is on one bookshelf in his house, and if you were in his house, there were books in every single room except for the laundry room. So here were some titles: Backyard Bird Watcher, Vivaldi, of course, The World's Wackiest French Joke Book, In Praise of Idleness, the New Yorker book of dog cartoons, Dictionary of Geography. I mean, the range of what he read was astounding. It was astounding. As has been mentioned, he never owned a car, or a dryer, or a TV, or a dishwasher. He taught himself everything by reading books. And when I realized all the things that he made as I got to know him, I was like, if he needed something, he made it. Oh, I need a bench. Well, I'll find a book and I'll figure out how to make a bench. And they caned chairs, and just like within this past year, the teapot handle on his teapot broke. And, instead of having someone go to True Value and get him a little knob to put on it, he made another one out of walnut. And I helped him do it because I was a little nervous about him and the power tools at that point. But I didn't want to tell him that, but I told him that I found out he was doing it, and I said, I've always wanted to learn how to use a belt sander. Will you show me how? So, anyway, it was a little devious of me, but he turned the pantry into a dark room at one point when he was doing photography. I was over there, and he asked me if I'd grab something from the pantry, and I walked in there, and I saw these strips of what do you call it when you develop film? And there's little frames and strips.
Contact sheet.
Yeah. And they were. And I'm like, well, what's this? He goes, oh, it used to be my dark room. And he played with book binding, stained glass, he made stuff out of leather, and he was astounding. He really was. And as he would say, he did all these things and so on and so forth. I'd go and get him stuff at the Kiva, and he'd open his little change purse and pay me back in dollar coins. He does that. I love how he appreciated my Renaissance woman skill set, and I love that he still had a typewriter. I love how just a year or so ago he was still cooking and how much he loved to cook. I love how he always wore an apron, and he had that those little well-worn cards with phone numbers tucked in his pocket, important phone numbers, and I just felt so happy that I was one of those important phone numbers in his pocket. I love that he let me help him stack his wood over the years, and in the beginning he was pretty resistant to everything, like, oh, I can do it, and it's like, yeah, I know you can, but as years went by, and especially really within the past 3 years, I would say he became graciously more willing to accept help, and it made me so happy. So I became his chief wood splitter and wood bringer inner. And so I'd go out and I'd split wood, and I'd bring it in this canvas thing, and he'd look at it all and he'd go, oh boy! It was a combination. He was so, he couldn't believe I had done it. And he was just so thrilled to have his wood split. Probably the biggest honor for me was last year when I asked him, because as many of you know, he made sausages, and he pickled everything. He made sauerkraut, and he made these incredible pickles every year. And so I asked him last summer, when are you going to make your pickles? And he said, oh, I don't think I can manage it. And so I said, what if you had help? And so I became his pickle apprentice. And so I hope you've had one of those pickles over there on the table, because that's his last batch of pickles that he made, that I got to learn from him how to make pickles.
And she took all the pickle stuff.
And so I have all the pickle stuff, and so we're going to make pickles next year, and there's going to be a first annual, which indicates it will continue, right? The first annual Griff Memorial Pickle Party. And if you would like to be invited, please let me know, because then we'll let you know when it is. And I had already written it on my calendar for this year, checking with Griff about pickles. So, I don't get to do that with him, but I got to do that with him, which was very, very precious. So he was just an amazing elder in my life.
Okay.